Okay guys, today we're going to install the Overfender kit on the Yamaha Wolverine X4. It's something I wanted when I purchased mine, but I wanted the blue color. This is in 2020. They did not offer the blue with the Overfender kit. That was an add-on option. To get the Overfender kit, you had to get the XTR in the green or the base model white, which came with the aluminum wheels and the Overfender kit. So I bought the blue and ordered the Overfender kit online. This is actually a Yamaha Fender kit, part number BG4-F15E0-V0. I'll put that in the description. So the Yamaha Overfender kit for the Wolverine X4, part number there is BG4-F15E0-V0. It comes with, of course, instructions. As is the instructions, these are actually not that bad. They're not terrible. A lot of things you get have terrible instructions, but this kit's not that hard to figure out. Comes with 10 bolts, or excuse me, 26 bolts. There's 2 packs of 10, and then 6 individuals for a total of 26. And the same thing for the nylon flange lock nuts. Comes with 2 packs of 10, and then 6 individuals. So 26 bolts, 26 nuts, instructions, and then of course you have your front fenders for left and right, and your rear fenders for the left and right. They're still in the plastic, so I probably should have taken those out so you can see those, but we'll see them when they're done. Comes with your 2 front fenders, 1 for each side, and your 2 rear overfenders, actually not fenders, your overfenders, 1 for each side. I thought, man, I'm going to do this. It's a very easy install. Matter of fact, it's so easy you can probably stop the video right now. Don't waste any more time and just go install your kit if you've already ordered it. But if you want to stick around, I'm going to keep filming. So I thought probably 15-20 minutes. I'll knock out a quick 3-minute video. I'm still going to make this video as quick as I can. And this is going to be quick. Pop the factory plugs out, these little blue plugs here. Put the fenders on. Put the bolts through, tighten the nuts on the back, we're done. It's a little bit more complicated than that, not by much. You do have to remove the rear fender to get access to the plugs. There's some internal fenders and clearance issues, just can't fit your hands in there. But you can do that. What we'll need is a 10mm socket. I've got a 1/4 inch drive with a 10mm deep well on it. You don't need the deep well. And I also have the 4mm hex wrench or Allen wrench to remove some of the factory bolts on the rear fenders. I'm going to go ahead and just use a damp cloth to clean up the dust debris on here from when the last time we went riding. Get our new fender. Go ahead and test fit that. Sometimes they come in a little bit warped. Okay, we've got our nuts and bolts. 6 bolts, 6 nuts for the front. Obviously, you wouldn't have more bolts than you would nuts. And put our fender on. Start by putting these bolts through. They're actually used. That's another use for the 4mm hex wrench. And you'll need a 10mm socket or a wrench to hold the backside of the nuts, or the nut on the backside of the fender, I should say. So with all those finger tight, just do another quick check, make sure there's nothing in the way before I tighten it down. I'll make sure we move up, make sure your holes are covered. Some of these holes I can actually see poking out from behind the bolts, so I'll move those around as I tighten them down. Alright, so I've got my 10mm socket, 4mm hex. We're just going to start tightening. I'm going to start here in this top corner. .3 foot-pounds are the specs. So that's the front. One thing I meant to show before I put them on is the inside of these fenders are hollow, and my concern is from trail riding, especially in the mud, it's going to sling water and mud inside this hollow chamber here. And it can come out on the inside, but it's tight clearance to the bottom of this fender where it rolls down. It's a little more open in the front, but expect to see a lot of mud residue in after you ride or after you wash it, and see the mud come out. But so let's move on to the back. The back is very similar, other than same situation. Pull the plugs out and put your fenders on, bolt them up. But to access the back side of these holes and get these plugs out, you do have to remove the rear fender to catch these top plugs. It's just the way the inner fender is so tight, you can't get your hand in there. So that's going to slow down the process a little bit. We're going to go ahead and get started with that. All right, so we're on to the back. Very similar. 7 plugs, pull out, but to get this fender off, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts to take out, and those are the 4mm Allen bolts or hex bolts, and then there's a 10mm nut here at the back. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to take the 10mm out first. It's right here below the tailgate hinge. Start taking it off. Adds just a little bit of time. It'd have been so much nicer to just pop those plugs out, put the fender on, bolt it up. Oh, I forgot one thing. There is a little plastic plug down here at the front, right behind the hinge. That is a lot of fun to get to. You need a flat blade screwdriver to back that screw out and pull the plug out. It's the same one that's used to fasten several panels inside the vehicle. One of those plugs there, I don't know if you can see it. Disconnecting the tail light connectors. A little bit more fun than removing that plug. So bear with me. I'll fast forward through this. It's probably going to take me forever. Okay, I got that out. I used a small hex key to push down on the tab, slide it in there and hold that down while I pull it out. It was not fun. It's not fun. So I'm going to clean off. I've got some mud back here. I'm going to clean off. Well, I'm going to pop these out, then I'm going to clean it off. So this is what I was referring to earlier about the 6mm socket. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but if you center it right around those plugs and push down, it just pops that plug right out. 4 tabs, and this socket fits right over those, and when you push, it squeezes those together and pops that right out. You can, as I said, you can do it with your fingers, but that socket has worked out well for me. Those out. And those overfenders, let me see if I can show this to you. The way they bolt, or the way they fit, actually cover up all of this. So I went ahead and cleaned that down ahead of time. But again, I'll show you there. You see that big ledge right here on the inside. When you fit this up, it's not sealed. I considered adding foam tape or something to try to seal it, but I thought if any water does get in there, it won't get out then. But I cleaned that ahead of time. That just fits snug against it. There is a drain, an open area here at the front, so any water does get out of drain here, but in the back there's not, and it fits pretty snug. So I imagine some mud and stuff's going to collect in there. Probably never to be cleaned again, because I don't plan on taking these off to clean it. But all those plugs are out. We're going to put the fender on, and I'm going to do that back here on the tailgate. I'll lay some of these in here. My bolts. I thought these were nylon lock bolts. They're not. They're actually just lock bolts that have the metal locking flanges on the inside. I think they're called flanges, but some pieces of metal on the end of the head of the poles that lock it in. It's not nylon. All right, there we are. Beautiful. Put this bad boy back on. Okay, we put this fender back on and we're done. Check your electrical connections. They are marine grade with the O-rings, the rubber seals inside. Make sure there's no trash. Snap those back together. Put your fender back on. Make sure everything's in place. Hold it so it doesn't fall out on you. Plastic plug, panel plug. Man, this is right at this latch. Well, not latch, it's the striker. If you call it a striker. Tighten this down. Before I tighten this one, I want to make sure that 10 millimeter lines up down here. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Not too bad of an install. It's a little bit more difficult than I expected going into it. Didn't realize I had to take the fender off, but even so, it's not too bad. And so if you stayed with me to the end, as I said, you could have stopped early on, grabbed the tools, headed out and put yours on without even watching this video. It is that simple. But if you did stay with me to the end, I appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great day, and see you again on the next video.